Hello and welcome to the show. I am here today taking a look at the latest update for BeamNG Drive that has added some new interesting features. The one bit particularly that caught my eye was the new brake thermals section. We actually have brake fade and overheating brakes and so on now to contend with. And that is something that has not particularly been done before. I am going to test out. We've got a Roma. This is like a super sport version of the Roma, relatively powerful supercharged V8 in this one. Pretty damn fast vehicle. You can see down at the bottom left I've put the little brake information hub essentially. So that is looking at front left and front right brake temperature, seeing as the front brakes are going to be the ones that are doing most of the work. We're going to see how long it takes for me to have a problem with the brakes. How long does it take for me to cook these brakes to the point where maybe they don't function, maybe they are just sort of noticeable that it isn't working. I don't know how long it's going to take with this. I chose this vehicle specifically because it is relatively fast and it's got, well, we can see it's got premium brakes, so it's got, you know, okay brakes in a relatively fast vehicle. We're already starting to get up towards the 600 degrees. Whoopsie, we've not really made that turn particularly well. The map, or track I should say, that I'm using is, as you will probably have noticed, Lime Rock. It's a really rather cool mod, very well done to make a Lime Rock circuit. Now I and ahed quite a lot as to where on earth I was going to head to test this out. After all, a lot of roads and a lot of places for Beam are long, sweeping, fast sections that don't really have too much in the way of braking, so I kind of wanted to go to a racetrack. And while Lime Rock is perhaps not the most intense on brakes ever, this was a mod that was available for this game. It is a really rather cool circuit. It's a track that I like very much, so yeah, kind of curious to see how this truck is going to fare. Already I have noticed the first big stop. We've got stuff flashing up in yellow and red. That's not particularly good. That was the efficiency of the brakes. They're already starting to flash at me after just a lap. Just a lap. Now you will see that I'm going the alternate route around this circuit. There is a specific reason for that, because it will be a heavier route on brakes. The normal layout of Lime Rock, you have a tremendous stop into turn one, the rest of it not quite so much. But this alternate layout that I am using is a lot heavier on the old brakes. We are flashing up in red once more. That is it's slightly concerning that it's only taken me a lap, or we're coming around to complete our second lap. It's only taken that long to start. I can't say I've noticed particular problems yet. We haven't gone on the brakes and just been nothing there whatsoever, but yeah, it's starting to get a little bit on the sketchy side. And that smoke, we're not stopping for turn one whatsoever. Okay, the brakes are starting to go. Basically, on my Roma, that was my poor driving there. That was not the fault of the car. I've just realised it actually does have I've been so used to driving vehicles without ABS on here, I forgot to take the ABS module off the car. So we do have ABS working, so if I do just jump on the brakes when we come into one of these corners, I actually worry about being careful, which is kind of nice for me, really. I'll just go, yeah, there's definitely some smoke coming off of those front brakes. We are getting stopped for that first chicane section. We are getting stopped. Now we can see as the temperatures are now pretty, up to 1,200 almost on the brakes. We are just about still making the turn. The efficiency is now staying almost firmly in the yellow section. We've got all sorts of twitching coming out of there. Now again, that's not the fault of the brakes and so on. That's just my slightly poor driving. We are front left is taking a little bit more of a battering slightly. Let's see if we're going to be. I'm slightly worried about getting on the brakes at the six board. We are so pushing that to get stopped. We're really pushing that one. I'm going to hazard a guess a couple more laps and we may just not slow down anymore for the corners, as the sort of the brake discs and so on, they can't get rid of the temperature. There's not enough of a brake around this track to get rid of the temperature. Now, I don't know if there is brake wear. I don't know if that is a thing on here, if over time the brake pads themselves are going to where that really does not feel like that is slowing down very much anymore into there. And I do love that there is, you know, these puffs of smoke. In fact, my brakes, I think, are pretty much smoking the entire way around. You can almost smell the overheating brakes. Anyone that's been at a racetrack will know exactly what I mean by that one. This is I'm actually quite surprised. Having everything flashing red at you just normally indicates that it's about to give up. It is still going. It is still going. Is it going to be solid? When we go on the brakes into this turn 1, are we going to be solidly in the red still on that left-hand side? No, not quite. It is just about doing enough of a job. There's a whole... Oh dear. Okay, now that's got even worse. Uh-oh, we're going to end up in the... Oh, we ended up in the wall. And that is just... You can see the smoke coming off the brakes. Basically, I've cooked the brakes on this. This is with premium, you know, brake pads. It has got vented discs on it as well. And that is absolutely cooked in a very small amount of time. It is a real thing. For the more basic of cars, it is a real thing to be worrying about. And I like that. I'm loving this level of detail. Admittedly, it wasn't the most spectacular of crashes I've had to end a sort of challenge, essentially. It was just we went on straight on at turn 1, and we've buckled the steering slightly. I mean, the car is still probably going to be relatively drivable, but you get the idea of just how quickly these brakes can go if you've got a high-powered vehicle without the correct brakes fitted to it. Really, that's quite that is really quite something, and I love that they have the smoking effect of the brakes. Okay, so that was the Super Sport Roma. We're gonna have some fun messing about with some other vehicles. So I am kind of curious to see what will happen if we take this Sunburst time attack car. This is another part of the update. Yes, they've got some proper full-on crazy time attack body kits, and I've put this on essentially standard brakes. It has still got vented discs on the front, but they are, you know, standard brake discs on this, and we have got the very basic brake pads. How long is this going to last? Seeing as the Roma lasted a few laps before we pretty much lost the brakes, how long will a time attack Sunburst with essentially standard brakes last? I'm thinking perhaps 2 laps, maybe 3 laps. We might get 3 laps out of it before it's completely and utterly fried them, because this is going to be quicker than the Roma. We are going to probably be able to brake later and brake harder, even though we have got standard brakes on it. You know, it's going to be a lighter vehicle. I'm assuming sort of the downforce and so on is effective in this game. So yeah, we're going to be able to hopefully really push this car. We are already just seeing the efficiency jump up into the red. That is slightly concerning, but yeah, already they are that is not taken a particularly long time there. This stop into turn 1 might actually be a little bit on the scary side as we come around this final corner. Okay, Carl, where on earth are we going to brake into? Because, well, ideally we would be braking around the 6th board. We're probably going to brake a little bit earlier. So if we go on the brakes here, brakes, try and get it slowed down. Oh, okay, we have just made turn 1. We have just made turn 1. There is many a red flashy light telling me that things are probably not all okay in the braking system of the car. In fact, we are... It's taken us a lap and we are already smoking quite heavily every time I go near the brakes through these. I'm kind of curious how long can I make the car last while still pushing it like a race car. Oh god, we are not stopping whatsoever. This is probably not going to make it into turn 1 if I go at what would normally be a sensible braking point for a race car around here. In fact, it's not going to make it around this corner properly. That's already cooked them. it's had it. It's taken 2 laps in a full-on time attack car, and it has, yeah, well and truly, it's smoking quite heavily coming out of the final corner. You can see that the final efficiency is down well below 80. And we're going to have to go on the brakes quite nice and early here. We are really, that's not stopping or whatsoever into turn 1. That's really not that is really not ideal. Now this makes for some, I've just seen the efficiency down at like 4. Bloody hell, I guess I should say 0.4. I've been saying all sorts of different things, but I should be saying 0.4. This gives me sorts of interesting ideas with, certainly with sort of challenges in regards to racing. You know, you have it's just not stopping anymore whatsoever. I'm taking all sorts of terrible shortcuts through there. I'm not intending on, it just doesn't work. Yeah, kind of all sorts of interesting ideas with race cars and, oh god, the brakes are done. I can't actually stop it anymore. Wow, that did not take long. Like, what I was going to say, like interesting challenges, you know, revolving around complete perhaps a certain course with a high-powered car, but with these brakes that are overheating, and you've got to manage it. You've got to keep the car under control. You have to brake earlier. You perhaps have to brake slightly less. Okay, so with the Sunburst equipped with these with these brakes, that was just gone. After the first lap, it was pretty much knackered. Okay, let's try some other vehicles and see what happens. So for our next crazy fast car on the most basic of brakes, we've got the ETK K-series. However, this is the one from the Ultra Fast Cars mod, so it's got a ridiculously powerful engine. So it's going to be going really very, very quickly, and I'm going to see if we can kill the brakes. Shall we see if we can kill the brakes in, what, maybe 2 laps? We can probably, yeah, we could probably kill them in, or overheat them and have them not really work in a couple of laps, because this is going to be going really very, very fast, and it perhaps doesn't quite have the, probably going to be a bit heavier than the time attack car, so again, more energy required to slow the vehicle down. Perhaps can't carry the same quarter speed as that time attack. That time attack car does handle incredibly well. Let's try and slow the damn thing down. Oh, once more, I forgot to take the ABS off, but there we go. I did spot some slightly unhappy brakes with me into that first big braking zone, but we do tend to have to brake a little bit earlier anyway, regardless of the brakes in this thing. It is so superbly fast that, yeah, braking zones are going to be a little bit different in this car. Let's slow down for this final turn. I'm not trusting this one to quite be flat out around there yet. And there was a good reason, as we were running quite wide out of there. Now we are going to have a big stop, and I'm not quite sure where. There goes the smoke. Oh, we've lost brakes. We've completely and utterly lost brakes. I'm fully on the brake. We're not stopping whatsoever. We made a lap. I was being quite cautious. I was being relatively cautious. Where I got on the brakes, they just stopped working. There was just nothing at all there. That's quite terrifying, but also quite cool at the same time. That was just completely... I think the car is actually completely dead now from that, but not surprising. We just go straight on into turn 1. Wow, that took a lap. That took a lap, and we absolutely fried the brakes on this car. Yeah, it was going very quick at the time, and they're still at 800 degrees from that, yeah. Put racing brakes on cars that are going to be doing like 120, 130 miles an hour. Otherwise, that is not going to be a particularly, yeah, pretty sight. I'm actually quite shocked and impressed with this game. with these, the back brakes have now stopped smoking. Car's had it. Okay, we're going to do a slightly different challenge then on this one. Let's show me. Let's just show the front left and the front right. How many laps can I then drive with this car? So we are going to have to. I mean, I'm still going to try and drive it relatively quickly. It's kind of hard for me not to. It's just imprinted in my brain to drive cars as fast as I possibly can when it comes to racing games. How many laps can I get out of this before the brakes do completely fail? Now, this does mean I'm going to have to be a bit sensible, but I don't even know if me being sensible is going to be quite enough, because, well, you saw that time out. It literally, unless I want to tootle around at, well, sort of normal road speed with this car, which I don't particularly, I was being quite careful. Seeing as I didn't quite know where I was going to have to brake in this, I was being relatively careful. So we're going to have to be so ultra smooth and steady with these cars if it is going to work. I mean, already we got warnings coming on from that one. We're going to get warnings coming into this final turn. Now, I do want to be able to get some speed up down here. Now we're up towards 104, 150 miles an hour, but now we're going to have to go back on these brakes. I'm going to have to try. Please don't fail me now. Oh, he's just not stopping. It's just much worse. I mean, we have made turn one. I say we've made turn one. We are cutting the grass a little bit out there. I hope they don't mind. Yeah, the brakes have just can't do it in this car. I guess in the Sunburst, you know, it's a little bit lighter. Perhaps some of the drag from the aero bits, maybe that's helping slow it down and whatnot. This, it is just a case of they are absolutely shot to hell. You can see the efficiency is down to below 0.4 already. We have, though, made it through this little uphill chicane section. Yeah, the brakes are probably going to be permanently smoking around the course of this lap. Please stop, car. We've had it. Oh no, keep out of the wall, keep out of the wee. There we go. We didn't go in the wall, so I'm counting it as still. Well, I'm making up my own track, okay? It's this is a Lime Rock 2.0, if you will, that is currently being made up to try and, well, hopefully keep this K-series out of the walls. We're going on the brakes back here. I am not 100% sold that we're going to make turn one whatsoever. I can tell how little the brakes are doing because I'm full on the brake pedal and the ABS isn't even coming on. That's how shocked they are. And it's only been a couple of laps. If you wanted to actually keep this car going around this track without ending up on the grass, you just simply couldn't. You would have to cruise around. You would have to be cruising around so slowly because now we're going to have to go on the brakes here in an attempt to slow the car down. Efficiency is again down to that 0.4. This is quite spectacular, actually. I know I am doing a silly thing here, of course. In a car like this, you wouldn't have basic brakes and so on, but I was curious to see how noticeable the effect would be, and yes, by God, it is noticeable. It is really very noticeable. You know, I wanted to speed up for the sake of a video. I wanted to speed up the process of, you know, frying the brakes, and so that's why we've got a car like this. Didn't think it would quite go this quickly, and it really is. When they are gone, they have had it completely. As we're now going to try and slow down into turn one. No, they're gone. We're not stopping at all. Oh. It's really, really impressive feature of this game that I'm thoroughly impressed. Again, perhaps not the most spectacular of crashes when the brakes do inevitably give up. I think I might have been a little later on the brakes that time around. Either way, they were going to be going that lap, probably the next lap, if not, as it is just, yeah, completely and utterly given up the will to stop, and you're always going to end up in that tyre bundle. Well, that is a really rather interesting feature. I think a few more experiments are indeed in order. And naturally, the first thing that I wanted to have a go with was a truck. Now, this is not going to have the speed of the high-performance race cars, no, but it is still with essentially the standard brakes, and let's not forget, there is an awful lot of mass with a truck. There is a lot of energy that you've got to try and slow down when you do come to a braking point, such as for this first corner. And I was kind of curious as to how a vehicle like this one would fare. You know, a more everyday vehicle. So I set about driving this one around until something failed, or until I got bored, whichever one would happen first, just to see how long it would take for the truck to have an issue. However, I couldn't kill it. I couldn't get the brakes to give up. You can see that this is about 20 minutes in. You can see the temperatures are up to 800 degrees. The efficiency is very much plummeting. However, couldn't actually get the vehicle to completely have a catastrophic failure. Now, I wonder if perhaps because the truck was never going massively fast, you know, it's going 70-ish miles an hour, 80-ish miles an hour perhaps into the braking at the first corner here. It was a long enough time sort of in between the big braking that it could just about sort of cool down enough so that when I did go to get on the brakes from the 80 miles an hour, I was still braking relatively late down here. And it didn't quite get to the point of failure. It got very, very close. But, yeah, after the 20 minutes, I hadn't had the truck brake. So, yeah, at a racetrack, the truck was okay, if sort of starting to get to the limit. I was also interested to see what would happen with a full-on race car, so I decided to use the new I-series. I love the livery, very Mercedes 190E livery, and Mercedes 190E rear wing as well. It's yeah, a great little car, this one. And again, I set off to see what would happen if I just drove the car. What would be the first thing to give up? Could these full-on race brakes, could they fail? Would they have a problem with going for long periods of, you know, very, very heavy use? Theoretically, no. After all, they're being designed to deal with this sort of conditions, but yeah, I didn't know what would happen. And again, I spent a good 20-25 minutes, and I couldn't cause a failure with them. Driving it as hard as I could around this track, I couldn't cause a failure with the brakes. I could get the turbo to overheat, as you can see going into this first corner. Yeah, I could get the turbo to overheat. I mean, I could get the brakes relatively hot, but they never had any real problems. Now, as I said earlier, I don't know if brake wear is a thing. There's certainly, you know, the information that we have at the moment is mostly to do with temperature and so on. I don't know if we actually have brake wear, so if I kept going for an hour or two, whether the brakes would eventually wear down to the point where they would start failing. But under normal kind of racing conditions like we had here, I just never got them to the point where they were having a problem. You know, yeah, they get up to very, very high temperatures into the braking for the first quarter, but it was never getting to the point where they were going to fail. In fact, you know, the efficiency was staying very, very steady throughout the entire time. I actually then started resorting to trying to get the turbo to blow up, because it did get to the stage where near enough every lap it was tending to say that the turbo was overheating coming down towards the first corner. So I got curious as to whether I could make that go before the brakes. I started using the faster layout of this circuit, so I would be on the power more and less on the brakes, just to see if I could get the turbo to give up. However, yeah, even that one, try as I might, it wouldn't go as much as I was, you know, throwing the car around here and trying to carry, you know, as much speed. And as I started taking this longer route, I started to take the normal Lime Rock layout, slightly faster Lime Rock layout. We were getting further and further away from having any real problems with the brakes. So, yeah, if you have a full-on race car and you want to do sort of proper racing essentially on here, yeah, you know, the race brakes will be good for that. The race brakes will survive the laps around a track, as you would perhaps expect, whereas the lower tier cars, you're going to have more and more problems. If you put normal brakes or you put basic brakes on a race car, that's when you have the big catastrophic failures. I thought this was all very fascinating, a really interesting update. I'm really glad to see it in BeamNG Drive. In the end, it was me trying to carry too much speed that would be the downfall of the I-series. I was just trying to go quicker and quicker, try and see if I could blow the turbo up, and I ended up hitting the wall and snapping the steering. So yeah, the whole brake sort of thermodynamic stuff is really quite cool. I do like messing around with it. And yeah, I highly recommend that you check out this update. I'll also put a link to the Lime Rock Circuit mod, so you can download that, have a go with that as well. But that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.